Hello and welcome. I'm Bonnie Libhart. Have you ever had that moment in your lifetime when you were asked to speak in front of a group? It could be a Sunday school class, or it could be the company where you work, or it could possibly be that you were even asked to be a keynote speaker for everything from PTA to a major corporation, and you almost froze. When I was 14 years old, I was asked to do something. I forgot my name. 5,000 eyes looking at me. I couldn't remember what the reason was I was there. Well, that is being afraid to stand up and speak in a, whether in a group or sometimes even just 2 or 3 people can be terrifying. It's very near the top. It was at the top at one time of the top fears in the United States. Well, here is a person who can help you and me overcome those fears, and also he has created and is the founder of the business, the Speakers USA, and we're going to find out more about that. Here's a man who was one of the top people, or in fact the top person. His success has never been matched over a 17-year period for a major company that many of you in this area have heard of, Success Motivation Institute in Waco, Texas, and I had years of $4 million and $5 million in sales and a lot of wonderful things. I've known him for 17 years, and I'd like you to know him also. His name is Bill Cochran. Bill, welcome to Vision Plus.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
TVN Network.
Good.
What is Speakers USA?
Well, Speakers USA is a national organization of speakers, trainers, and consultants. We sort of use a generic term for speakers that really means anyone who uses the spoken word to convey information, training, coaching, whether it's a keynote speech, as you've already referred to, or a seminar, or workshop leader, or someone who simply does one-on-one consulting or training to small groups or large groups. We use the generic term speakers, but we're all in the business of passing on information, communicating information to people and to individuals, both individuals and companies, to help them be more effective and more productive.
Now, how did you get involved and come up with the idea of establishing Speakers USA?
Well, probably need to digress a little bit to about 20 years ago when I was a plant controller with a large company. I'd had a BS in accounting and an MBA and really wasn't happy working with numbers and being cooped up inside 4 walls, and decided I wanted to work with people. And at that time I became affiliated with SMI, which you've mentioned, Success Motivation Institute. And in addition to that, I was doing some seminars and workshops in human relation skills, communications, management training, sales training, and really enjoyed what I call the people business. And from there, moved on to left Tennessee, moved down to, which was my home, moved down to Waco, Texas, to the headquarters there, and spent a number of years there, and had some reasonable success, but more than anything, just developed a real love for being involved with people and being in the people business. Through the years, I observed probably two groups that I felt had some very specific needs and some very specific opportunities that I became very engrossed with studying. And that is, number one, the business community, the business world, which basically involves all of us. I mean, even individuals are in business, where every person alive is in business of selling whatever they can do in exchange for some money and the lifestyle that they'd like to have. So we're all in businesses. But I noticed that many businesses struggle or fail to do as well as they should, and in my opinion, unnecessarily. I've also noticed that they many times continue to struggle with certain problems, certain conditions, certain results that could be changed. And so I sort of came up with the philosophy that if you're not achieving the results that you would like to achieve, it's simply because there's something you haven't learned yet.
If you're not achieving the results that you would like to achieve, there's probably something you haven't learned yet.
Right. So it's you know, through growing up, we've habitually learned as human beings, that if we're hungry, we go get something to eat. If we're cold, we go put on extra clothes. If we're hot, we go inside where it's air conditioner. And we've learned to take care of those needs. If we're bored, we find something to go do. But I don't think we've really learned that if we're not achieving and we're not accomplishing the things that we want to with our life, if we're not completely satisfied with our life, then we haven't learned that there's something else we can learn, that we can go read a book, we can develop a new skill, we can take a night course, we can attend a seminar or a workshop. But there's something we can do that we can learn that can move us from where we are, either where we want to be or certainly closer to where we want to be. We've, as a nation, we've sort of become accustomed, I think, to finishing whatever predetermined formal education we're going to do. For some people that's middle school, for some people that's high school, and some people it's college, and other people it's maybe graduate school. But at some point, everybody finishes up where they're going to be. And I read recently that 58% of the people of our nation has not read a nonfiction book since graduation or since they've left their formal education.
58% have not read a nonfiction book since they graduated from whatever they graduated.
Right, or quit, not even graduate, but just since they left their formal education.
That's kind of scary.
So we've sort of developed, again, the habit or the tendency, I think, as a nation and as people, to finish whatever level of education we're going to, and then to expect whatever knowledge and skills we've acquired at that time to carry us from there on. And that doesn't necessarily work, particularly in a fast-changing environment like we have now. We're living,
I think. How do you see that fast-changing? How do you see us becoming change-friendly?
Well, I think number one is probably to realize it's probably a matter of survival. Researchers have said that there was more change between 1790 and 1800 than there was in the first 90 years of that century combined. The same thing happened between 1890 and 1900, and that the projection is that it will happen again between 1990 and 2000.
That more changes will happen in this decade, this 10 years, than there's happened the whole 90 years prior to that.
Right. And if you take a look at what's already happened, particularly in the world situation, we're well on our way. And I think as we get closer down to the year 2000, we're going to see a lot of inventions, a lot of creations that people have had a timetable on. So, well, I want to have this done by year 2000, and I believe we're going to see some exciting things to happen, some fun things to happen. But even though they're exciting and fun, it still means we've got to deal with new procedures, new thoughts, new information, and many of us are trying to cope with the changes and the surviving and growing and everything. We're trying to cope with that with old information and old skills. So we all have to learn and grow. So sort of coming back to my point is that I've seen that as businesses, we've too often tried to move into the future with outdated skills and knowledge and information. We're told that it takes the equivalent of a college education every 3 years just to stay even.
How in the world are we going to get the equivalent of college education every 3 years to stay even?
Well, I think it's probably being aware of it and making a decision that learning never ends. That if we're to progress and if we're to be better off this time next year and 5 years from now and 10 years from now than we are today, then we've got to grow with the world. We've got to have more information, and so I think we've all got to be students for a lifetime. I believe if we would look at our professional people, which most of us would tend to admire and respect in any community, our doctors, our attorneys, our accountants, and the people that we really put on a pedestal as professional, I believe we would see that almost all of those people spend an uncommon number of hours each week just staying current with what's going on in the medical world, the legal world, or the world of finance and business. And I believe all of us are going to have to take more and more of that approach where we go out and do whatever routine things we have to do in our job or in our profession or in our business, but that we are also constantly involved in reading and studying and being involved in a study group. It doesn't have to be formal education. We don't have to be signed up in college to do it, but we do need to be taking advantage of seminars and workshops that are available to us. We need to be reading some of the fine books that are out. We need to be meeting with people that we respect and people that we can grow together with. And I've got a good friend that's been involved in a study group for a good while where they meet and grow a lot and learn a lot and continue to progress a lot simply because they gather new information and new skills.
What are some of the ways that a business could be helped by Speakers USA and its people?
Well, Speakers USA, again, we have people all over the United States who have expertise in about 100 different subject areas. It seems like I hope our industry is maturing and progressing to the point where we have a more realistic view of what we offer. And I think the days of the business people getting flyers in the mail that says, attend this workshop and it'll be the last one you ever have to, or a new book comes out and says, this is the last book you'll ever have to read on,
Like the First World War
right,
was the
right.
world's
So
last.
that's just not going to happen. There's probably it's life's sort of like a puzzle. There's probably 1,000 different pieces of that puzzle, and I think our job is just to go out and gather as many pieces every day, every week, every month as we can. So there's not any one piece that's just going to change a person's life. There's not one piece that's going to just equip a person or a business
So
to
that's
be
a little
effective and efficient, for
different than the
years.
spaced repetition type of thing that we hear.
So I would say that we have people that can work with individuals and companies in areas such as communication skills. We're still told that 50% of all the people that are fired or leave jobs don't do so because they don't know how to do the job. They do so because they don't know how to get along with the people that they're working with. So we still have a big gap in our ability to get along with each other. We've made phenomenal strides in technological areas. We've put a person on the moon years ago. We've got incredible, with the Iraqi war. The technological things was just absolutely mind-boggling, but we still haven't learned to get along with each other. And so there's still an area there we've got to learn good human relation skills, communication skills, team building, so that we can not only be good as individuals, but we can work together for common goals and a purpose there. Self-management, many companies are reducing their levels of management, so that puts depending on how you look at it, more pressure, I would say more opportunity on most of us to exercise more self-management skills, to be more in control of our life and our on-the-job time. But self-management skills, when we've had for many of us, we've had someone looking over our shoulder for 20 years, and all of a sudden that person's not looking over his shoulder and say, okay, manage yourself, then we're sort of left out in the cold. So self-management skills is a good thing. Time management, with all of us are under such time pressure all the time that there's never a time where we don't need to constantly work on our time management. Creativity, just to be creative in how to handle change and how to deal with change and how to continue to have our products or services competitive in the marketplace.
Now, if we're going to become change-friendly and be creative in that way, give me a possible example of maybe how people could help someone to be change-friendly. How could team building work together toward helping a company change?
Well, we would have certainly among our national network of speakers that we would have people again who are versed in all the areas that we've talked about, and it may be that a company or a business where we would do what we call a fact-finding or needs analysis to really determine what they've done in the past, what's working for them the best, what are their strong points, and then what areas do they see that maybe they haven't had time to focus on. And again, it may be that so many times we have, particularly in the business world, when everyone comes to work usually with about 12 hours of work to get done for every 8 hours we have now, and that situation's changed a lot in the business community. How's
it changed?
Well, I think a few years ago, I think if a company, let's just take an example, if a company had 20 people, for example, you could pretty well assume that they probably only needed about 15. There were some extra people there. If one of them was off tomorrow, it wasn't a big problem. If they wasn't as effective as they should be, it wasn't a big problem because, again, they've got roughly 25% or 30% more people than they really need, so there was enough people to cover. That doesn't exist today. If they've got 20 people today, you can probably assume they need 25. And those 20 people are basically maxed out to the limit. And they're working hard, they're being effective, but there's a lot of pressure. And sometimes that can be stressful. And that's not necessarily bad, but it can be stressful. So many times, though, those 20 people are all doing their own thing, and they're all working very hard. There's not time, or time is not taken to communicate effectively, to really discuss priorities. There's not time taken necessarily to sit down and see, is there a better way of doing a particular function or a particular job. So that's where I think communication, team building, of really opening up communication. Most of it really comes down to communication. If there's, we don't have time. We could do a whole program on things I've seen with just communication problems and snafus that companies have had.
Snafus that companies have had in communication.
Well, I'll give you a real quick example. Not too long ago, I opened up my credit card statement, and there was a beautiful, beautiful flyer inside from one of our major hotel chains. And I had a trip to Mexico advertised, 2 new properties in Mexico, and they had a special announced, and it really looked attractive. And again, the brochure was done very tastefully. It's 4-color with a silver strip, and very expensively done. And I can't even imagine how many they must have sent out with with
credit card
because I'm obviously not the only one that has a credit card, so they must have been just millions,
not
sent out.
Not everybody's had plastic surgery and had them all cut up.
So by the time that piece got in my hand, there's no telling how much money they had invested to both produce the piece and then to get it in the credit card statement and to get it into my hands and the hands of millions of others. On that piece, it gave an 800 number to call to request more information about that trip. So I picked up the phone and called the 800 number. A person answered and had absolutely no idea in the world what I was talking about. They put me on hold at the company's expense. I'm calling on an 800 number, which is not toll-free. A lot of people think it's toll-free, but the company pays those charges. Someone else came on the phone. I told them what I was calling about. They didn't know what I was talking about. They transferred me to a third person who still did not know what I was talking about, but gave me another 800 number to call. I called the second 800 number, and they did not know what I was talking about either, but this person did say she would try to find out and send me something. So a few days later, I did get something in the mail. Had nothing to do with the offer, nothing to do with that particular thing, but she did send me something. But that's just an example, I think, of where a company, probably at the higher levels, made a promotional decision, budgeted the money, spent massive amounts of money, but they forgot to tell the people that answered the phone. And the person that was going to be responsible for taking the information from me, and who knows, they may have printed another expensive brochure to send to me because they said they would send me more information. I never got it. So for all I know, there was another brochure that was printed up that was never used. So another time I read a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal, which is extremely expensive by an airline advertising special deals on their airline. I picked up, called their 800 number. Person had no idea what I was talking about. So many times we're busy, and executives are busy, mid-level people are busy, people down on the bottom are busy, and they forget to tell each other what's going on in their business. They forget to rely on each other and remember who else is involved in making everything work smoothly.
There's been times too when that person that you call, there have been companies where they put the lowest person answering the phone rather than a person that enunciates well and is knowledgeable of what's going on, just in all companies. And they say, well, she can just answer the phone. But they don't realize that is your business to that company. How important
that is. That's right. That's the first image and first impression people get.
So what are some of the projections for what Speakers USA will be doing as the years go by? Well,
I mentioned that they're really sort of formed speakers to serve 2 groups, and we've talked about one is the business community, which I feel has tremendous opportunity to capitalize by having additional information, additional training, again, where that comes from someone to come in and do seminars or workshops, or whether it's people to do training or consulting, one-on-one consulting or long-term consulting on a wider scale, whatever it would mean. But I do believe there's a real opportunity for businesses to remain competitive, to grow, and to achieve a larger portion of their market share. There's also a second group that I was very concerned with, that was instrumental in the formation of Speakers USA, and that's the people who provide those services. And we've seen many of those people struggle. As I said, the businesses, I think, struggle, and I've seen many of the people, the speakers themselves, struggle and not do as well as they should.
Because they don't know how to market.
They don't know how to market.
They know how to get, when they're on stage, or they're in front of the group, or they're working the team building, they know how to do that. But they're not salespeople, and that's so many times true in other businesses, too.
Well, it's not only that they're not salespeople, but it's that they, you can't decide to be a professional speaker, trainer, or consultant and major in it in school. You can't major in it in place. There's not any place to get the formal experience and the formal training. What has happened in most cases is that these people have been in the business community, they've been in jobs, they've worked for a number of years, they've developed an area of expertise, they've developed an interest in certain areas that they have pursued, and they have become very, very good in that area. And once they're in a company, in an environment where they can do what they do best, they can do it very, very well. Unfortunately, though, they have not had the opportunity, as you said, to learn how to sell, how to market. They haven't had the opportunity to learn how to wear the 100 different hats that they have to wear.
That anybody, in most businesses, that small entrepreneur that starts a business, and that's what a speaker trainer is many times.
He's just a small business person that started out.
How do you find out how to market yourself? So Speakers USA could also train the people like me that go out and do seminars and speak. And people who would like to maybe, I don't know if you take new people that just have that burning desire and dogged determination to do that. Do you also accept those people?
And that sets us apart, I think, from anyone else in the nation, that we will work, you have hands-on work, personal work with people at any level, whether they're brand new or whether they're experienced, whatever level that they are at, we will work with them. And I think that's one of the things that is a stumbling block for them is that most companies are reluctant to hire them in their first 3 years. I mean, that's just, they sort of say, well, if you haven't been in business 3 years, let me see if you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And
so how do you get 3 years of experience?
So how do you get 3 years of experience? This is the old thing, you can always get a bank loan when you don't need one, But it's a tough, and that's not limited to this industry. Almost, again, so many new businesses, people wait. They want to say, well, let's see if they're going to make it. We know most people don't make it, whatever business it is. We're told that only about a third really manage to survive for 3 years of all the new businesses. So there's some legitimate reasons why companies would be reluctant to do business with new people. So we feel that we can help with that by being a corporate umbrella to some degree for those speakers to work under, and by providing the training and the ongoing support and consultation that we do with our members, then we feel like companies can hire our members and our affiliates with more confidence that they've had good training, that they've got someone to work with, that they've got, again, a corporation that assumes some responsibility and that takes some action in providing training and support. And then we guarantee the satisfaction of our corporate clients and business clients. If they're not happy, well, we'll stand behind that. So that gives them some assurance and allows, what we hope is that it allows both parties to come together that we feel are sort of looking for each other, but they don't know how to get together, and they don't know really how sometimes to feel about each other and whether they're going to get what they want. So it's a little bit like a real estate broker, I guess, where we're trying to bring together two people that one that has an interest in selling a home and the other one has an interest in buying a home. The one selling wants to make sure they get the right price. The one buying wants to make sure it's the right home and they're going to get everything that they want. So we're trying to sort of fit that need there of bringing those two people together, because, again, to repeat, is that I feel that a lot of businesses have struggled and suffered when they could have been moving forward had they had better training, better information, better guidance. There's a lot of speakers who have struggled, and that could have done a lot better had they been able to work and prove what they can do. You know, many, again, they don't have maybe professional designations or because you can't major in it in school, as I've already said, but they've earned their stripes really out in the business world. They know how to, they've achieved in the business world, many of them. And more importantly, they know how they achieve. A lot of people achieve, but they don't know how. You know, don't know what they did to get there. And they have the ability to communicate it to other people. And I think that's where a lot of our people that I would refer to as business speakers, is that they have achieved, they know what they did to achieve, and they have the ability to communicate it to other people.
So many times companies will think, well, I want a name, I want a sports star, I want some big name, but that person may not really be good at taking information and sharing it with other people, but a trained person could do possibly even better than just maybe a name, big name that might just have a narrow field of expertise primarily.
That's an excellent point, just an excellent point. We get calls quite often from companies and associations and organizations that want what's referred to as a celebrity speaker. Because a person is a celebrity doesn't necessarily mean they're a speaker.
That's right.
Because they're a speaker doesn't necessarily mean they're a celebrity. And it's interesting, though, that unless they're really clear in why they want that person, that too often they end up being disappointed. Doesn't mean that the celebrity's not good. Doesn't mean anything other than,
he's a great
again,
actor, or he's a great
yes, just because a person is a great athlete or a great whatever they are, just because they're great in those areas, doesn't mean, number one, that they're a speaker. A lot of them are just disappointed. They expect that person to come on, and because they're a top-rated actor or a top-rated newscaster or something like that, they expect them just to be able to wow an audience. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. And maybe they have some expertise, and maybe they don't. If they're hiring that person as a draw, which many of the times they do, they want a name that will draw attendance, and they're going to their meeting, and if it's advertising, then they need to look at it as advertising and know that that's why they're spending their money, that they're spending their money as advertising to get that person's name so that people will come and attend their meeting and pay their registration fees. That's okay. If they're hiring that person, though, with the idea that they're going to really bring forth some information and bring it forth in a manner that is transferable to the people, and the people can go home and use and implement and make their lives better, there's a good chance they're going to be disappointed, because that's not what that celebrity speaker is all about. It's not what they're supposed to do. It doesn't mean that they're not good. It just means that's not what they intend to do or what they're supposed to do. So it comes back to that communication thing, understanding what we're really looking for.
Bill Cochran, the founder and president of Speakers USA, and you can get more information by calling this 1-800 number. It's 1-800 872
2178.
1-800 872-2178.
That's right.
And you will get a person on the end of that line that knows what they're talking about, and they will get the right information out to you. Bill, thank you very much for being with us today.
Well, it's great to be here. My pleasure.
Thank you. Bless your heart.